Hey, what's up gamers? I'm in the mood to play something fast and furious, so let's do this. I was on the fence about getting this game for the longest time. I spent many nights looking at videos on YouTube, analyzing the gameplay and graphical differences it might have with console versions. Although the majority of gamers agreed that the gameplay was indeed similar to its console counterpart, the consensus was split down the middle regarding its visual fidelity. Some people thought it looked great, with only a smidgen of graphical detail lost, and then there were some that just thought it looked okay. I decided to take the plunge and decide for myself. So here it is, the Need for Speed Most Wanted review for the PlayStation Vita. Now I would be lying if I told you the visuals are near identical to the console versions, so I'll say it right now, they are not, but rest assured they are very good nonetheless. You see, unlike the PS3 and Xbox 360, the Vita version does not include all the little subtle details. The courses and cars remain the same, just without all the extra textures and additional effects. Although the cars do have less detail, they are still very recognizable and look nice overall. Car damages are now less noticeable as well. The worst you'll see is a few dents here and there with a cracked windshield. Fairhaven City takes a hit in the visual department as well. The rays of light and shadow coming from the sun isn't as soft as they are on the consoles. Also, little touches like water puddles on the ground, leaves and newspapers blowing in the wind are either gone or not as apparent. Although the buildings are a little bland looking, you'll be moving so fast through the streets that you'll hardly even notice. With that being said, without those little subtle details, it does leave the city looking a little lifeless and empty. But when you consider the fact that this handheld version includes the entire Fairhaven City, you soon forget about all its shortcomings. The rock-solid 30 frames a second also make up for the loss in detail as well. Don't get me wrong, it is still a very good looking and well-detailed game. The only problem is that it will always be compared to the consoles and never judged on its own merit. That's just unavoidable. One complaint I've been hearing about is that there is less traffic in the Vita version. My answer to that is, who cares? Why would you want more traffic crowding the streets when it's already difficult enough to see everything else on such a small screen? It's not like we're playing the game on a 40-inch TV or anything. In my opinion, I think the reduction in traffic works out, because now the game is able to keep a constant frame rate, and also it makes navigating the streets a little easier. Although the extra traffic and cars on the console version were a nice touch, I just don't think they're really necessary on a handheld. My only gripe with the graphics is that the headlights on the oncoming traffic looks a little blocky and pixelated. Other than that, considering how the graphics were borderline next-gen on the PS3 and Xbox 360, the Vita version in its own right does a masterful job in replicating the console look. The weakest element to this game is probably the sound department. That's not to say that they're bad, they're just not all that great or inspiring. Car crashes sound good, and the roar of each engine is distinct and authentic to that particular car model. Radio chatter between the cops during pursuit also heighten the experience and helps to create tension. Although the sound effects do provide that high impact feel, they come off a little too crunchy and compressed for my taste. Sometimes they sound almost as if they're being heard through a tin can. The soundtrack fares a lot better. Music is very clear and easily heard. There's a song on the radio for almost every taste. Car handling is extremely smooth and responsive. I was skeptical at first, wondering how this tiny little analog stick would fare with such an intense driving game, but after an hour of playing, I was soon a believer. If you're going from the console to the handheld, the controls will take a little getting used to. But if you're playing this first on the Vita, then you'll be a pro racer in no time. The D-pad is used to navigate the menus and select races. Touch functionality is kept to a minimum, thank God. You can turn the radio on or off and select songs by swiping the rear touch panel. There is plenty to do in Most Wanted. You can find and jack cars hidden within the city, which is then added to your collection. Each car can be upgraded with speed points earned by completing certain tasks, such as winning races, finding shortcuts, smashing fences and billboards, and also by performing takedowns. Once you earn enough points, a Most Wanted event will open. These are my favorite. They're basically the bosses you have to defeat by winning a race and performing a takedown. It's very cool and feels very satisfying when you knock out the other car. Win all 10 Most Wanted events, and you then become the Most Wanted vehicle in Fairhaven City. The online multiplayer worked surprisingly well. Gameplay was smooth with hardly any lag. It's basically you and 3 other people driving around performing specific tasks and whatnot. If you like having fun, then this is the game for you. Don't let the fact that the graphics aren't on par with the consoles deter you from getting this. Aside from the graphical differences, this is basically a carbon copy of the console version. So quit looking at videos on YouTube and go buy this game.